Welcome to the Dave Kusiak Podcast. Now here's your host, Dave Kusiak.
Life moves forward in all different ways, so I'm honored to have some participants from the 1975 team. Before we bring them in, I want to read this. Okay, Paul Mullaney sent me this. Just bear with me. Bear with me here. Dave, here's the background on the 1975 Knoll team. The Warriors, coached by Jerry Vlasic, finished an undefeated season. Joe, I want you to listen to this because Joe's a recent player. The Warriors, coached by Jerry Vlasic, finished an undefeated season at 10-0, won the Indiana Lakeshore Conference, and recorded seven shutout victories. Despite the perfect record, Knoll did not make the state playoffs. It was only the third year of the IHSA state tournament, and in 1975, only 4 teams made it to the playoffs in each of the 3 classes. 1 from the Northwest Indiana quadrant, 1 from the Northeast, 1 from Southwest, and 1 from Southeast. Knoll was in Class 3A, comprising the state's largest schools, but in District 1, it ended the regular season tied with Valparaiso, which also finished 10-0. But Valparaiso won the tiebreaker based on strength of schedule. Perhaps a good story to share. After Knoll beat Gavitt at home to finish a perfect season, all the Knoll players, coaches, and fans were tuned in to WJOB to hear the conclusion of the Valpo-Hobart game, which was the Duneland Conference Championship. If Hobart wins, Knoll goes to the playoff. If Valpo wins, Knoll is done. The game goes into overtime. Hobart scores a TD and misses the PAT kick. Valpo then scores a TD and converts the PAT kick to win the game 24-23 in advance. Valpo then goes on to win the state championship, beating Penn, and finally, Mark Harmon led Carmel. Mark Harmon was a very good quarterback that put up all kinds of records at Purdue. I actually went to many of his games. Kevin, there's 2 types of universities, Notre Dame and Purdue. I'm a Purdue guy. We'll get to that in a bit. Yes, okay. Kevin is the other. The difference of 1 kick kept Knoll out of the playoffs. A number of the players were huddled in the stairwell outside the locker room listening to the game. Perhaps they have recollections of that moment. We'll get into that as well. That's the first one. Let me see if there was... How do I get that? We'll go to some others in a second. Let's do this. Let's talk about some of the top players will be in studio. One on the phone, Brian Whiteside. Brian Whiteside, let's just go through. Senior tailback and captain now in Georgia, ran for 1,373 yards, 14 touchdowns, and a long run of 94 yards. After leaving Knoll, went to Purdue, walked on to the football team, but didn't play due to injury. Earned a bachelor's degree in political science, then became a police officer and detective in Gary. Went to law school in Atlanta to become an attorney, and also previously served as Solicitor General of Gwinnett County outside Atlanta. I'm reading off a phone, and it's small print. Basically, that is the county prosecutor. Kevin O'Neill, Kevin, I might as well bring you in. So, hello.
Hi, Dave. How are you?
Kevin O'Neill, senior fullback and captain. His blocking was a big reason why Whiteside gained 1,373, and Angus was a success at quarterback. Also a wrestler at Knoll. He went on to wrestle at John Carroll University, received a BS in chemistry, marketing, and now serves as president of Fabsco Corp in Riverdale. I don't think it's Riverdale. Is it Riverdale? That's what I thought. I've been to your place.
Our zip code is Riverdale.
He also is a father of 2 Knoll grads, a new grandfather, and has been an active volunteer at Bishop Knoll and St. Thomas More Church. Joe Angus. Joe, are you out there?
I'm here. Hey, Dave, I want to thank you for having us and all your support for Bishop Knoll. This is pretty cool.
I appreciate it. Joe Angus was a junior quarterback. I thought you were a senior. You're a junior quarterback when you guys went. Junior quarterback who flew in this week from Portland, Oregon. Mobile athlete who was an effective runner and passer. He threw 9 TDs and ran for 4. He also played baseball at Knoll, went to Indiana State where he earned 4 letters playing football and his BS in safety, and as a BS in safety management. He has served in safety engineering and safety director roles his entire career, starting in Inland for 7 years before moving to the Pacific Northwest. First of all, gentlemen, hello. Do we have Mr. Whiteside on the phone?
I sure hope so. If this isn't Mr. Whiteside, please hang up. But
well, let's just go through until we get him. Mr. Whiteside is listening, 219-845-1100. Gentlemen, first of all.
Should I put him on the phone?
Yes, let's bring him on.
Hello? You are on there?
Mr. Whiteside, is that you?
Yes. Yeah, I'm on the phone.
Well, thank you very much for calling in, and I'm honored as a 1987 Bishop Knoll grad to have you guys on and to celebrate the 1975 team. I graduated 12 years later, and the mystique of your team is still there. It's one of the team photos that proudly sits, if you remember where the bathrooms are, across from the cafeteria. It is the hallway that everyone walks through to go to any game at the field house, and it is Kevin, I only see your face there. You're right there in the middle.
I'm right in the front.
You're right in the front. So it is gladly and proudly hanging up for its 50 years. So first of all, introduce yourself, and what is your fondest memories of that year?
Oh, I guess I can go first. I guess the fondest memory, number one, is just looking back on the past, that as freshmen, people don't know, we lost every game. And then we combined to go ahead and win that last game. But I would have to say some of the fondest things are that I think the year before that, there were questions who was going to be quarterback. We had Matt Avina. Joey came in and did a great job. And I think Kevin had been blocking for 2 years. That's why I got 1,000 yards every year. I think it was unity that made us move forward. So,
that leads us a little bit into what's going on. Just give us an overview of what's going on this weekend, Kevin.
Well, tonight, all the team members are going to be meeting over at Bishop Knoll. We're going to celebrate our 50th anniversary on our brand new field that the school just built, and we're going to get together in the upstairs alumni hall about 5:30. We're going to meet the team at the grotto, and then come back and either watch the game from overlooking the field or sit in the stands, and then there'll be a little introduction after halftime, and then we'll go back upstairs and have a little camaraderie with all the team members.
So, Mr. Whiteside, 1,300 yards in 1975 is quite a few yards, my friend.
Yes, sir.
Well, looking back at it, though, and let's bring in Joe Angus, how did you feel? You guys go undefeated, and you don't make the playoffs.
It doesn't take away from the 10-0 record that we had.
I'll get to that in a second, Mr. Angus. The reality of it is you guys knocked the snot out of almost everyone, had 7 shutouts, and you didn't make the playoffs.
Yeah, we had lots of swag. As a kid, I don't know that it really registered. I've never been on such a successful team ever. All I can tell you is we were loaded. I had fantastic athletes all around me. I do want to get into some details because as old as I am today, I have vivid memories of how great that team was.
So what is Vlasic? What is Coach Vlasic? Is Coach Vlasic? He's still?
Yeah.
Is he still? He passed away.
Passed.
He passed. His wife passed. His son was going to come and couldn't make it. But
here's a little thing. We used to hang out with Nicky. Nicky's closer to my age than your guys' age.
Nick and Jared.
Yeah, and one of the sad things for Coach Vlasic is I think Nicky was a 2-year starter at Portage, and his dad never saw him play because obviously he's coaching. When that. And the late Frank Pockel told me that one of the reasons why he retired coaching, he said, I'm coaching other people's kids instead of watching my own.
Yeah.
And so that's a tough thing, but it was his way of making a living.
Every coach makes a sacrifice.
Yeah,
that's right.
So
Jerry was dedicated.
I was at the last time that he came in. It was a couple years back. So what did he say to you guys? I mean, so the story goes, Paul Mulaney sends things there. I don't know if you were one of the players, but players are listening. So basically, you do everything you can. You go undefeated. You have a great year, and you're relying on someone else to beat somebody?
Yeah.
And it doesn't happen. You guys are sitting there listening to the game. How deflating is that if you remember when you found out that Hobart ends up losing to Valpo?
It was heartbreaking, obviously. Being 17, 18-year-old kids, and after even having the season we had, with our 7 shutouts, we actually, until the last game of the year against Gavitt, when Coach put all the sophomores and juniors in, people had only scored 2 touchdowns against us the whole year.
Yeah, that final was 52-19, and Coach Sivlich was upset. 19 points.
He was yelling at us because they scored 19 points. Well, we were all sitting on the sideline by the third quarter. But
Brian, did you guys know your Coach? I'll call him Coach Angus because he was a coach when I was at Knoll.
Yeah.
Did you guys know you were that good? When did it? You said you lost almost every game as a freshman. When did you know that you put it together?
That good. I think we knew that good.
Hold up. Go up. Brian first, then we'll go to Coach Angus.
Okay. I think we knew we were that good when the coach came in one day and he told us in a meeting, I think a lot of athletes, I can't remember with everybody, but everybody had to play two sports. I don't know if Kevin and Joey remember that. And he told us that we should be unbeaten. He told us in the sophomore year, you're going 5.5. The junior year, we should have been unbeaten then. Mm-hmm. In my opinion, controversy. But we had some people on defense that took their own decisions and didn't listen to Coach Sivich. And you can talk to Kevin on that because he was a great linebacker. We were the captains. We took control. Sivlich and Vlasic took control. We knew we were going to be unbeaten because we were good. And Kevin, people don't think about it, he was a linebacker, but Coach Sivlich, he was great. So we knew we were going to win. So that's all I can say about that.
You know, I can tell you about Coach Sivlich. Yes, he was great. Still, he's going to be there tonight, too, with Coach Sebastian is also coming. But
how many of your coaches are still living?
Those two.
Those two?
Coach Sivlich and Coach Sebastian, yeah. Well, after my freshman year, as Brian, I played freshman basketball. And after the end of the year, after our sophomore football season, I got lucky enough to be able to play a little bit of varsity as a sophomore. And Coach Sivlich came to me after the football season and said, you know, O'Neill, I've seen you play basketball, and you stink, so you're going to come out for wrestling.
But we buried the lead.
Next year, you're going out for wrestling. I'm like, what? I never wrestled in my life, Coach.
Joe Cimino is 22. Did you hear what he said, that they were forced to play two sports 50 years ago? Now these coaches are forcing them to specialize in one sport only. They had to play two sports. So that, I think they're finding out. John Doherty comes in here all the time and tells people, specialization wears out the same muscles. Playing at least two sports keeps you in better shape. You're a better athlete. I think there's a point of diminished returns after you've played your 150th baseball game of the year. Yeah. So I think the coaches had it right when they forced you to play two sports. And most of the time it was football and wrestling. Yeah. And a lot of times it was baseball and basketball. But there was a lot that did all different, or track, yada, yada, yada. But before I want to make sure that you get out what you want. Is there anything that you want to talk about that happened that year while we have you on the phone, Mr. Whiteside?
I can't think of anything except Father Vavery. I think if Kevin and Joey remember this, the first game he came in, and that was our principal, Father Vavery. Mm-hmm. And he said, you can't be undefeated unless you win tonight. And so we laughed. Oh, here's the father. He's talking. We won that game. He came in the second game. You can't be undefeated unless you win tonight. And we're like sitting there like, you know what? This guy is right. And that's the Bishop Noel creed. Be excellent. And that I've always taken with me.
Well, I read your bio. And sports is important, and it was a life lesson that you guys didn't get in. It was really a lesson that life's not fair. But we were talking about this earlier with Joe. He came in, he was a little bit down last week, and I said, you're going to be okay because you're in control. What life lesson, that lesson there, how did that and everything that you learned at Knoll get you to where you're at now?
Are you talking to me?
Yes.
Well, first of all, like I told Paul, when I came in, it was the 1970s, and there was a lot of racism. But Bishop Noel wasn't racist. You had a fair opportunity. If you could be there and do your best, you were going to excel. And the big thing about that, when you took the football field, it was the best players who were going to play. Didn't matter about your race. When you took your grades, it was the best thing. When you got your grades, you got your grades. And the big thing about Bishop Noel, when I got hurt at Purdue, I went to Whitewater first. And then I walked on to Purdue University because I had gone to Bishop Noel. I said, I don't like this school. I want to go to a great school, the home of the astronauts, to get a good education. Because I had gone to Bishop Noel. And as people don't know, both my parents were teachers in Gary, Indiana. They said, go to Bishop Noel. They paid for that. And so they still carry that on with Paul and Kevin and Joey. And Joey came in and did a job running and catching punts. He was an all-around person who put us in positions. I might have had 1,000 some yards. But Kevin, he kicked the blocks out.
You had 1,373 is what they're telling me. That's a little bit more than 1,000.
Hey, he was the most punishing running back I've ever seen.
It's actually 15 touchdowns in our scoring champion. But the whole point about it, the person in front of me for 2 years was Kevin O'Neill.
Yeah.
And Joey, he had the ability to run, to open it up. So we had Michael Payne.
Yep.
He ran and did diversions, and his average was like almost 14. But see, behind us was the Bishop Noel Creed. And the fact, I don't know if Kevin didn't figure this out, but I think he does, because his kids went there. And then Kevin's kid is a police officer.
Oh, yeah.
My son is a police officer. He works for a district attorney. Both of them are educated. They went to get their 4-year degrees. This is so much behind not only football, but the people like Civic and Sebastian. You weren't going to talk back to these guys.
So you're listening to Brian Whiteside. You're calling in from the Atlanta area. We're talking about the 1975 Bishop Noel team. We have Kevin O'Neill, Joe Angus in the studio. I'm honored. So you said your parents were teachers in Gary. I'm assuming you lived in Gary as well?
Yeah, I lived in Gary, Indiana. I have a brother in Houston. He became a police officer and attorney also. And my dad taught at Tolliston. And I remember, if Kevin doesn't remember, I remember his dad and my dad went to dinner one day. So my dad taught at Tolliston. My mom taught at Beveridge. And one day in 8th grade, my dad said, "You're going to Bishop Noel." And that's the best thing that happened.
So I asked that question because this is a similar situation with me, that my brothers and sisters all went to Munster. I was the only one that went to Noel. And it opened, even though I was originally from East Chicago, it opened up a life that I didn't know. And the reason I'm asking, you're from Gary. I know Kevin was from Cal City at that time. Joe, what city were you from?
I grew up in North Hammond.
North Hammond. So when you look at that mix, that's the mix of life.
Yeah.
And I really, even though I was originally from East Chicago, I was a little bit shielded in the fact that it was the South Side. You go to Bishop Noel, and there's people of all races.
Yeah.
And I'm a better person for it.
Yeah.
And I think that that's one of the things that they sell now when they say mind, body, and soul.
Yeah.
Right.
And you guys are evident of this 50 years later, that I could just see, the pride that you guys have and what you accomplished, but also, of course, 10-0 is great. Of course, winning every game is great. That's not what you guys remember. No. It sounds like you guys remember the relationships and the experience.
I think I wanted to reinforce what Brian said, because back in that day, obviously it was 50 years ago, but it was a work ethic that we were all taught as kids and growing up. And when we played these games, we also did this. Joey, what did you weigh? Like 150 pounds?
Yeah.
I weighed 170 pounds. Brian was, 145, 150. I think we had two guys on our entire team that weighed over 200 pounds. And that would have been probably Rick Camrat and maybe Jimmy Kokow. But everybody else, we only weighed 150, 160, but Joey was fast. You could never catch him because he ran so fast. And Brian, it just was, we just got out there, picked up our lunch pail, and went to work every day, and because that's just how we were raised. And
I remember going to Clark, and I remember there was some racial slurs being whipped at the team.
Yeah, not in Robertsdale, Northam. That never would have happened in 1975.
When we were walking on the field and we huddled that team up, we didn't have black and white people. We had a team, and we were a band of brothers. And I'll tell you, the chemistry on that team was one of a kind, and I got all kind of fond memories. I used to hand that ball off to Brian on the 226 power. Kevin would blast out the end. Camrad would just cave in the line on the right, and Brian, if there was a guy there, he destroyed tacklers. I seen kids that he would just bull over. He wasn't that big, but he had the heart of a lion, man, and it was unbelievable. We were stacked. We were loaded. We were, we didn't have a weak link in that. And I'll never forget, you talk about Ricky Camrad. Ricky was V'd out as a high school kid, one of the only kids I ever knew that was pumping iron in his garage. He'd come back to the huddle to me. He'd say, "Hey, Joey," he says, "we can run 26 power all day."
All night
He says,
long.
I'm killing this kid.
It's going to be a long night for the guy sitting in front of me.
And the other thing I want to talk about, and I had lunch with Wally Kasperky a couple days ago, and we were reminiscing, and he said Coach Vlasic was really ahead of his time. That guy was an offensive innovator. He was putting some plays.
So they graduated a year before that?
Yeah, they were the 74 team. They were 8-2. They were loaded. They had Kevin Matavino, who threw for lots of yards. They had Steve Mitchell.
Is that Mike Matavino's son? Or is that the Matavino from North Hammond?
Where was Kevin from? Hessville?
He was from Hammond.
Frogsville.
Yeah, he was,
But he was a prolific passer. They had a great team. And but we did that 75 team. That 75 class. Those seniors were just great guys. They were loaded. It was a joy to play with them. I had a ball, man. I'll tell you. And we had swag. I guess you'd say we had swag today, but back then we were.
So Mr.
powerful.
Whiteside, you guys are 68 then, right? It's 50 years. If you graduate when you're 18, 67, 68.
well, I'm 67. Don't add a year there.
Yeah, we don't need to be any older than we are.
So you've obviously had a brilliant career, as many people on that team. Do you believe that some of the foundation happened at on Chicago Avenue and Hoffman Street there?
Oh yeah, I mean, it happened the day you walked in there. I mean, when you walked into Bishop Knoll, we had new buildings in Gary, and it was a great school system. But when you walked into Bishop Knoll, you came in and you figured it all out right away. You had to have a tie on. There was strict discipline, and your parents were paying. And there's a demand by your parents, so there's demand by your parents to do what's right and to make sure it's done the right way. And then when you had your peers, their peers were there to have an accomplishment. And see, people forget that Vlasic was a disciplinary counselor also. So you really were in a strict situation, but it was a unique situation where if you needed to be counseled, when I had problems, I would walk to Father Mosier, and nobody knew that. But the whole point about it was, and like Joey said, that's the first time they used the N-word. I think we lost in our junior year to Clark, and somebody gave me they called me the N-word. Before I could turn around, the team is jumping over the fence to kick some sense, just to say some sense into that person. So the whole point about it, I didn't have to take action because of their morality. They were going over the fence. Vlasic said, "Get back in the bus." We got back in the bus. And see, there's a speciality to Kevin, to Joey. Joey came in and led us. People don't give Kevin enough credit. They were on the defense. The defense put the offense in a position. I could score 15 touchdowns because nobody could move.
So Kevin's daughter and my daughter are the same age. They went to school for 12 years, and I didn't know Kevin. I didn't know that you were. I knew that he was. I mean, I walked by the picture, and you're holding the football, aren't you? Or you're right in the center of the. You're
myself and Greg Cataldi and Brian were the three captains that year.
I thought your prowess was wrestling. Now I'm hearing that it was football and wrestling, huh?
I did okay, yeah.
Look at this kid.
I enjoyed it.
I enjoyed
playing linebacker. It was
Greg Cataldi. I just want to say one thing about Greg Cataldi. In 1972, I told Paul this. There was a lot of racism. I left my water canteen at home. I said, gosh, I left my water canteen. We were freshmen. I think we were freshmen that year. Greg Cataldi had me drink out of his water container. That meant a lot to a black young boy.
Yeah, I mean, people don't realize that was the 70s, and those are tough times. But that's and look, I'm 11, 12 years. I'm 87. We had similar situations. I'm telling you, even 10, 12 years later, being on a team. I played basketball and played for Jack Gaber. Going into a school where I'm half Polish, half Mexican, there was everybody. And I learned so much. I am a better person because of that. And I think that that. You feel it. Yeah. You feel it when you're going through, but you feel it more later when you reflect. Yeah. But that makes you who you are.
When you get exposed to different races when you're a kid, and it doesn't matter. Like Brian said, the best guy plays, and they're your brothers, and you're going to war with them on a football field. It wipes out all that stuff. It equalizes everything. I'll tell you, we had a tight chemistry, and we had athletes, man. It was scary when we come on the field.
Well, we're going to take a short break. Brian, can you stick with us just for another short segment?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so you're listening to WJOB, the Dave Kusiak Show. We have the 1975. It's 50 years since they went undefeated. I brought a special shirt right here.
Oh, nice.
You know what I mean? Right here. Bishop Knoll says 1921. Well, after Raz Deedlow came in, that'll be a different story. He was supposed to be a Knoll guy, and then he veered off towards the end, but that's okay. We'll razz him later. That's not about him today. Today is all about 1975 and your guys' accomplishments. Well, Joe, we'll take a short break, and Joe's listening to this. He is an Andrean grad and a quarterback and understands this, and his situation was a little similar in that he came from another school and joined a team. But what you guys have done, before we go to break, I just want to let you know, it was always talked about. I mean, you guys are already living your life. You know, I'm 10 years younger than you. I'd walk by and I didn't play football, but they went, that was the best team that played here. That's the best team that played here. That's best. And then I end up running into some of you guys. I know Suchi. Yeah. We'll talk about him before it's over, and others that may have passed. I'm sure there's a few people that we've lost, but it is one of those things that. And Coach Vlasic was still at his height when I was there. And Joe, you came back. We'll get to that before we let you go. That you came back and were on that coaching staff that won a state championship. So I'm sure I want to save that. That's a little bit of forecasting in the future. So we'll take a short break, and we'll come back. We'll have another segment, and we'll get out all the different things we want to. We are celebrating the 1975 Bishop Knoll boys team, Mind, Body, and Soul. You're listening to Dave Kusiak Show on WJOB, 1230 AM, 104.7 FM from the beautiful Strachan Van Til Food Market Studios here at my alma mater, Purdue Northwest.